to show you the concept of this towel ring before we get started. So it's basically a rectangle and it buttons this way over the handle of your oven or whatever, and your towel goes through the ring there. I am going to show you the size of the ring so you know what size to get. This will also be in the description box. It is a 3-inch ring. And when it is done, the crocheted portion is about 7 inches or so by about 2.25 inches. I'm also going to be using a 5mm hook today and Bernat Homemaker Deck yarn. It is a bulky weight yarn, size 5, and it's the color clay. A good substitute would be like Rewind tape from Line Brand. This is very stretchy and it has a polyfill center. I'm also going to be using a 12mm bead for the button. To begin, chain 8. Working through the back loop only of your chain stitches, we are going to be making a half double crochet in the 3rd chain from your hook. Half double in the next stitch. Now that you have 2 half double crochet, we are going to begin our half double herringbone stitch pattern. We're going to be working around the post of our last half double, moving backwards and forwards. Insert your hook in the stitch prior to the last post and pull up a loop. Yarn over and half double crochet in the next open stitch. Now we're going to be working around the post of our next half double crochet. Moving backwards and forwards, continue in the stitch pattern. You're just going to continue doing that all the way across. When you are done with this row, you should have 6 stitches. So this is what your piece should look like, and you should have 6 stitches, not including the beginning chain 2 there. Chain 2 to turn. Again, your chain 2 does not count as a stitch. Make a half double crochet in the first 2 stitches. Now begin our stitch pattern, moving backwards and forwards around the post of our last half double crochet. You should have 6 stitches, chain 2 and turn. We're just going to repeat what we just did. Make half doubles in the first 2 stitches. And begin your stitch pattern, moving backwards and forwards. So you're just going to continue making rows of half double herringbone stitches for a total of 14 rows, as I'm showing you here, or until it measures about 6 inches in length. So once you have made your rectangle, I'll meet you here. So here I'm showing you I have 14 rows, and now we're going to do our finishing round. Chain 1 and turn. In our very first 3 stitches, we are going to make loose slip stitches. Now we're going to create our buttonhole. So we are going to chain 4. And in the 4th chain from our hook, we are going to make a slip stitch. Now loosely slip stitch in your last 3 stitches. This is what your piece should look like. And I'm just going to show you here that this chain 4 loop is actually going to be where we put our tassel. So it's really not big enough for a button, but that is where we're going to be putting our tassel. And then the space right below it is where the buttonhole is. So if you have a larger bead or a larger button, you're going to want to make that a little bit bigger. But that chain 4 is what kind of creates a point at the top so that it has a nice shape. So now we are going to continue making loose slip stitches around the border of the rectangle, and we will be working down this side here. So essentially you will see the rows that are right here and here, and you are going to need to put 3 slip stitches for every 2 rows. So I'm going to show you how to do that. It's actually not that hard. So in this chain 2 that we made for a turning chain, I'm going to make a slip stitch. And in between the next row, I'm going to make a slip stitch. And then in the half double crochet stitch right there on that row, I'm going to make a slip stitch. So as you see right here, I made 3 slip stitches for 2 rows. So I'm just going to continue doing that all the way down. So for every chain 2 that we made for our turning chain, you're going to put a slip stitch in that, and then in the in-between space here, and then in the side of the half double crochet on that end. Since there are 14 rows, you should have 21 slip stitches by the time you reach the bottom of this side. So I'm not going to verbalize it anymore. I'm just going to continue to show you how to do it. So here is what your piece should look like. You should have 21. And now we are going to add our wooden ring on this foundation chain that we started with. So go ahead and grab your wooden ring and place it between your hook and your working yarn. Draw through and make a slip stitch. Move the ring to the right and insert your hook into the very first stitch. Yarn over and pull up a loop. Move your wooden ring between your hook and your working yarn and draw through both loops. You're just going to continue doing this all the way across until you reach the other side, and by the time you reach the other side, you should have 6 single crochet inside the ring. So now we have our 6 single crochet inside the wooden ring, and we are going to continue our finishing round by making slip stitches down this side of our rectangle, just like the other side. So just like before, you're going to want to put 3 slip stitches for every 2 rows. So just watch me closely. It is slightly different than the other side because we are going in the opposite direction, but as long as you do it the same way all the way down, you should be fine. Again, you should only have 21 slip stitches by the time you reach the bottom. So here we've reached the bottom. I'm going to slip stitch so that I have 21 slip stitches. And then I'm going to fasten off. And I'm going to show you how to do a seamless join. So you're just going to pull your end all the way through. And then going into the very first slip stitch we made from back to front, you're going to grab that tail and draw it through to the back side. Now going back to the stitch you came out of, go through the back loop and pull that tail back through, and it looks seamless. Now you are going to have to weave your tail in really well since you are not making a knot of any kind. So be sure to weave it in really well onto the other side. So now I am going to show you, this is the wrong side of your piece. And of course the front side of the slip stitches is the right side. So with the wrong side facing you, grab your long beginning tail and we are going to weave it into about the middle of the 3rd row from the wooden ring. And that's where we're going to add our wooden button. So go ahead and grab a smaller hook and go through the stitches and just drag that tail up until you reach about the middle of the 3rd row. Make sure that you have the wrong side of the piece facing you. So here is about the level that you want your button to be. This is how it will lay. You want to have a little bit of room at the bottom for the tassel to hang. So you want it to be about the middle of the 3rd row. So grab a yarn needle and thread your tail onto it and then sew your wooden bead on, taking your tail upward between rows 3 and 4 and then taking it through to the back. I like it to be a little more sturdy, so I'm going to go underneath these wrapped areas where we did our herringbone stitch so that it doesn't show through, and then take it back through one more time to further secure it. Once you've done it twice and you feel like it's pretty secure, I'm going to knot it off and weave the tail in. This is what it should look like, and this is about how it should button. And now all that we lack is the tassel. So I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to use my fingers, and I'm just going to wrap about 3 fingers 4 times. You could do it a little more, but I didn't want it to be too thick. So go ahead and grab your hook and drag one end of all 4 tails through our chain 4 loop. Then you are going to fold them in half so that they are even. You don't have to worry about it being too perfect because we're going to cut them evenly. And then you need to cut a piece of yarn that's about 6 inches long or so. And we are going to make a gathering knot just below the chain 4 loop to hold these tassel tails together. Then you're just going to cut it to the quick and cut the tails evenly. And that is it. I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial today. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching.